and not to get into a kind of a religious piece, but what was your thoughts on why God has put you here? Why you have gone through the trials you have gone through to be able to give this testimony today.
Again, still though, you do have the split second stuff. Even if
Yeah.
you are at the higher
No,
level, like
you do.
there's shit that can happen. And I just recorded with Nick the Reaper, Nick Irving,
Okay.
who was obviously like a pretty legendary sniper in the military. When he and I were talking off camera, obviously, like, he looks at all the same things you do about like the difficulties of the rules of engagement now, and he's like, "Do you understand? Like, if you're looking through a scope at someone 750 yards away and they move around the wrong way to someone else, and it looks like there could be an RPG, it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, sit there and be like, well, let's find out if it is." Like, you're
And
dead.
sometimes that happens. I mean, there's examples of both throughout the past 20 years where shots weren't taken and it cost American lives. But then there's examples of like shots were taken and they shouldn't have been taken.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, it's like as long as the person that took that shot could justify it and be like, this is why I did it, and this is what I was thinking, then we should do our best to protect those individuals, right? We put them in that spot, and they made the best decision they could at the time. Now, you do have individuals who should not have been in the military or
That's right.
even had a gun. There's plenty of examples of actual war crimes, but no organization is 100% like
That's right.
safe. It's
And people hear about the terrorist attack that happens. They don't hear about the 99 that got stopped. It's the same
right.
concept with this.
Yes.
You hear about like what you were accused of and acquitted of. If someone was actually doing that stuff regularly, then yeah, that would be war crimes. That's not someone you want
Exactly.
in the military. And obviously your story's different in that way. But I don't support any of those types of things. But I also understand, like, shit is going to happen out there, and
Yes.
I'm fortunate to have the privilege to not have to be a part of it and be caught in those
Eddie
decisions.
said something that was really important. Two things, right? People, places, the things they do, and the times they do them, right?
Yep.
That's basic. If you go back to law enforcement, my dad used to talk about that. Then it was on NYPD Blue, which we talked about before with Sipowicz, right?
Yep.
One of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Sipowicz. But it's really true. So it's the same kind of thing. If you know who they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it, the times they're doing it, you're less likely to have that kind of panic at a
Yes.
time, right? But then, secondly, we had, I can remember, I think it was Anton Scalia when he was on Supreme Court, went to one of our, what the hell is it called? Like a shoot house, but did scenarios.
Yeah.
And, he kind of walked in, he was thinking about things, and then we just put a scenario on him, and he screwed it up. And at the end of it, he said, man, I've never had that kind of stress in my life from the 30 seconds. And it was a simple scenario. It was a law enforcement scenario, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about that, right, here's a guy that, pretty smart in his own area, right? Had made some critical decisions in his life for others that were affected by others. That really, the most stressful time in his life was a time when he walked in and there was somebody on a screen, not even really the ability to hurt you or hurt you back, and he wasn't able to get through that scenario.
That's why.
So if you think about that, and he had a different appreciation for the job guys like Eddie do, guys like I did, people don't take that into account because you're right. They're watching it on here, or they're playing a game, or they're watching a movie, and everything works out great when Denzel is equalizing. People with his watch and everything else, but it's not the way it is.
No,
it's a Eddie. The other thing is, right, no matter what, every life is valuable, right? So it doesn't matter who it is or what they're doing. Every life is valuable to someone or someone.
Exactly.
The Lord, right? But at the end of the day, you're tasked with having to make some of those decisions.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how does that, like, when you looked at it, I was interested just to know, like, what, and not to get into a kind of a religious piece, but what was your thoughts on why God has put you here? Why you have gone through the trials you have gone through to be able to give this testimony today and help other people. That to me is amazing.
So that is a big part of my story that I put in the book too, and it's probably like the most important chapter in my book is I became so close to Christ when I was locked up in a cell. I was always a believer. I was raised Catholic.
Sorry,
like
me
any
too.
like any good Catholics, when I left the home,
we
I
got
stopped.
4 losers in here.
Yeah. But then when I married my wife, she was a Christian, and that was on the contract. She's like, "You have to be a believer if we're going to make this work. Right. And of course I was like, yeah, I'm Catholic. Like,
no,
yeah,
a believer. No.
Yeah. So, I mean, she read her Bible every day.
You hit her with the, I believe in you, so I believe in God.
Exactly. Like, we're good. Yeah,
we're good.
So yeah, I mean, I always had faith. I prayed before every operation to myself, and just prayed over my team. But I really, and I've said this, I was half-assing it, right? I had faith, but I still was like, I'm in control, right? I'm going to make the decisions, and it's not until everything is taken from you.
Yes.
And I was locked up in a prison cell, and I was like this. I had no control about what was going on. I really just I gave everything to God, and I spoke out loud to him in my cell. That was the first time I ever did it. And I'll tell you, there's no drug on earth that gave me the feeling that I had after talking to him out loud. And ever since then, like that, he is a pivotal part of my life. And I every morning I have a routine. I get up, I talk to him, I read my Bible. I have my own relationship with him, and he helps me get through day to day. But it's also given me a better perspective on life. And yes, it's, we label, terrorists and this and that. At the end of the day, we're all human beings.
Yep.
And those people are thinking the exact same thing about us, that we're the terrorists and we're over there in their country. And they probably have, it's like, yeah, they're right, but it's war, and war's nasty, and lives get taken. And at the end of the day, my goal was to make sure my teammates made it home to their families, and I made it home to my family. And if I have to kill you, then I have to kill you. And it was funny. I had this, this liberal, it was like the Apple podcast guy I was telling you about.
Yeah.
He was asking me all sorts of questions and couldn't, and I was like, dude, it's so funny to listen to you try and break down, like, philosophize war and this and that. I'm like, it's so simple. It's a game. And I'm like, you're in the game. It's how we're over there, and if you pick up a gun, you just entered the game. And I don't care what age, gender, skin color, like, there's only one way out of the game, and that's death. And I was like, I'm playing the same game as you. So that's it. And you really can't. I think people think you can sit there and, let's reason and try and before I shoot this person, maybe I should go through his background and be like, maybe he really didn't want to be ISIS, and maybe he was forcing. There's no time for any of it.
Period.
Yeah, it's like, no, dude, it's on, and it's you or me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into that.
That's a great answer.
Yep.
What was your most memorable deployment?
Probably my second one with the teams. We went to Kandahar.
The one you were talking about.
Yeah, my second deployment. Yep. So we went and did disruption ops there. I mean, that is my most memorable. My first two platoons are actually my most memorable, just because the guys that I was with. I mean, I couldn't have been more blessed to be with just the most professional, but savage warriors that. From my peers to the older guys, it was just a awesome environment to be in. Everybody was on the same page. We were very tight, so that it just made those deployments that much more, memorable. But I got so much experience from that.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here